Hello there. In this video, we'll be taking a look at some of the most dreadful blunders by one of the greatest world chess champions ever, and that's no other than Garry Kasparov. Now, I'm not going to address the question of whether I believe he was the greatest. Not now, anyway. Maybe after we see the blunders. So let's get on with it and let's see the first game. Kasparov was black against Ivanchuk, and the game was played in Amsterdam in 1994. Let's take a quick look at the opening because in this position Ivanchuk played Queen f3, which at the time was an opening novelty. And I think you do have to play opening novelties against people like Kasparov because he was so well prepared in the opening. You know, you better strike first when you play against Kasparov. You know, at his best, he was unbeatable, and his openings was one of his main strengths. So Ivanchuk does exactly that. He plays Queen f3, which maybe Kasparov had never seen. And very quickly, we get to this position where Ivanchuk now tries bishop to h6, a very tricky move. Okay, the whole point is that now after bishop takes bishop, we can take the knight on f6, which is what happened in the game. Apparently, the best move in this position would have been knight to h5, okay, but Kasparov didn't play that, okay, he actually took the bishop, and now he's in trouble, because not only is white threatening the rook, but knight d5 is coming also. So already, bishop takes h6, not a very good choice by Kasparov. And now he castled here, knight d5, queen here, b4, this is a force sequenced, and Kasparov is in trouble now because the queen is under attack, and we're also threatening knight to e7. And here, apparently, Kasparov had to play bishop to g7. You know, maybe after pawn takes, bishop takes, check in here, knight takes pawn, king takes, knight f3. Okay, white's maybe a little bit better, but not all that much. Okay, instead of that, Kasparov played queen to d8, which is a really awful move, an incredible blunder. And now after knight to e7, queen takes, pawn takes. Maybe Kasparov thought that perhaps he's got enough compensation, you know, he's only got two pieces for the queen, but the knight is coming here, the king is you know, a little bit exposed. The king cannot castle very easily, but still, you know, Ivanchuk won in no time. And queen to d8 is just a shocking, dreadful blunder by Kasparov, completely unexpected, you know, completely unexpected from someone like him. But let's move on. Let's see another blunder by Kasparov. Okay, and this happened in 1983. Kasparov was very young at the time, and this was the candidates' quarterfinals, and Beliavsky was white. So let's get to the interesting position. Okay, yeah, Beliavsky has sacrificed a couple of pawns to get a kingside attack, and now he plays rook to c4, queen to d7, rook here, a very interesting rook lift, and Kasparov is in trouble. You know, white's attacking big time here. He's got a very dangerous attack. So rook takes. Obviously, the rook can't be taken. So Kasparov now played knight to e5, which is probably not the most accurate. Apparently, he had to go queen here, you know, forcing the knight to retreat. But knight e5 is not supposed to be a good move. So Beliavsky simply goes h3 now, and yeah, knight takes f3 is not so good now because those two rooks are incredibly active, and black's in big trouble now. Okay, so instead of that, Kasparov now went rook there. So knight d4, queen here, queen f4. We're gaining control over the f5 square. Knight to f5. And we get to this position where already rook to c4 is a rather dubious move in this position. Check in here, queen takes pawn, rook takes rook, knight takes. In the resulting position, material is even, but the big problem, of course, is that Kasparov has all those weaknesses. The king is a little bit exposed. White's got control over the f5 square. Black can only defend here. The pawn on b6 is a target. This is an incredibly difficult position to defend. So queen to g5, and the critical moment is this. Here, Kasparov should have played knight to g6. White stands clearly better, but maybe not winning. Okay, although in the long run, I guess maybe Kasparov would have lost anyway. But here he went f5, I mean h5. That's an amazing blunder. That's an awful blunder. Completely unexpected again. Now after knight to f5, what's happening here? Well, White's simply going to go f4, and he's going to win the knight. How can Kasparov miss this? Okay, he's got this move, only try, or else f4 is just going to win. But here, a double check, king moves, and then f4. And Kasparov resigned a few moves later. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It goes to show you that sometimes when, some of these big guys are under pressure, they do not play as well as they do when they have the initiative, when they're attacking, and so on. Okay, let's move on and let's see our next blunder by Kasparov. So this time he was playing black against Ljubojevic, and this is the Linares tournament in 1991. So Kasparov is black, and we get to the critical position, which is this one. Kasparov has been playing rather creatively, but here he made an incredible calculating error. Like calculation error, he actually took on g2. Which looks good at first sight, because this bishop and this queen, they look really powerful. We've got this rook over here. Black is going to take on f3 next. But there is a big problem, okay? And the problem is, now after rook takes g2, which Ljubojevic did play, bishop takes f3 doesn't quite work. Because we simply go rook takes, queen check. And now, after queen takes queen, which is obviously forced, we take the rook with check. And then we take on c3, and we're a whole rook up. How can Kasparov miss that? Well, it's one of those intermediate moves. They're easy to miss. It happens sometimes. But what's surprising about this game is that even after that blunder, Kasparov actually managed to win. Because after rook takes g2, Kasparov didn't take on f3, king takes, queen to g7, king to h1. This position is completely winning. Ljubojevic is a whole rook up, but Kasparov played bishop f4, he played on, and he actually ended up winning, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, but let's move on and see what the next big blunder is. If you look at this position, yes, black's got some compensation, but really, it's obviously not enough. It's a whole rook down, come on. So let's move on. And this is from the Seville World Championship match against Karpov, and Kasparov is black. Let's see where the big blunder comes. Okay, this is a Grunfeld. This was a Grunfeld defense. And let's get to the critical position. Okay, Kasparov has played quite well to get here. Okay, there's pressure against g4, but the rook is holding it. We've got this passed pawn, but it's not going anywhere, obviously. But black's pieces are rather active, so the position is still quite complicated. Okay, and apparently, if Kasparov had played rook to a1, he would have been in the game and any result could have happened, okay? But instead of that, he played queen to d7, which is a rather dubious move because now Karpov can simply take that pawn on a6. But what's shocking now is Kasparov's next move. He actually played rook to a1, which looks like a very nice idea because we're threatening to take that rook, and we're also... And the other point is that if rook takes rook, if the white rook takes the black rook, then Kasparov simply takes on g4, either with his pawn or his queen, and the white king gets checkmated. Okay, and meanwhile, well, black is threatening to take that pawn and so on. But Kasparov missed a very simple answer. White can take on g6, and needless to say, Kasparov resigned immediately. He's losing everything. Okay, white can take the rook on the next move. How can Kasparov miss a move like that? I'm not really sure. The references that I have is that he wasn't really in time trouble, but sometimes, in the middle of the battle, sometimes you can forget simple threats. And Queen takes a6 looks like a natural move, but sometimes you can forget that it's also threatening to take on g6. It's just shocking, but I guess he's human also. Okay, let's move on. Let's see another game from the World Championship match in Seville. And this blunder happened much later. Okay, this was move 43, 44. Okay, so we get to this critical position where Karpov has been making progress, but Kasparov has got all that counterplay along the f file, which could be enough to hold the game. Okay, and now we get to this critical position where Kasparov tries to be creative with this interesting looking sacrifice. Okay, the whole point is that now after pawn takes, rook takes, black is threatening that pawn and also the queen. For example, after rook c7, king there, if white now moves his queen like this, then rook takes pawn, king here, rook check, king here, and then d3, and black is winning. Beautiful analysis by Kasparov. Unfortunately, there is a problem, because after king to h8, white's got a much better move. He's got bishop here, double exclamation mark. And the problem for black is that he's got nothing, there's nothing he can do here. Where does he go with his queen? He can't really go anywhere. And if queen takes, of course, then we simply take the rook. And what did Kasparov do? He actually took on d3, bishop takes. And now if bishop takes, we can simply take on g6. So Kasparov took here first, and now rook takes rook. And now bishop takes, exclamation mark. And after d3, white can't take that rook with either his bishop or his king, because then d2 will promote the pawn. But white's got a simple refutation. He can simply go bishop to e3, which is the move that, well, actually, apparently Kasparov didn't even wait for bishop e3. He actually resigned here. Okay, a very nice intermediate move by Karpov here. Okay, bishop h6, double exclamation mark. The position is now lost. It's completely lost. By the way, queen here loses also, because we can simply play something like bishop here, queen takes, we take the rook, and when you take my rook, rook takes pawn, and that king is just too exposed. White's winning. So yes, that was another blunder by Kasparov, but let's see another one. And this happened against Sokolov, Ivan Sokolov, and this was 1999. And let's see what happened. We get to this position. Yeah, okay, so Sokolov has just played queen to c1, and now the position is rather complicated because white's got those two rooks, this open file, that king is kind of vulnerable, anything could happen here, but Kasparov's next move makes things really easy for white, because after this move, white's got this intermediate check, forcing the king to go back to h8, because if you play f5, then we can simply take on d4, c takes d, and then queen takes b7, and if king here, queen here, and obviously black is getting checkmated. So instead of that, and also if the king moves over here, then we have moves like rook here, which should lead to a winning position. The rook can't be taken, and if king here, well, if king there, I guess we simply go rook check, queen takes, check, forced, and queen here, and black is going to get checkmated. So after queen to b1, king there, queen to f1, and it turns out that white's attack along the g file is just too powerful. Maybe rook h3 or even queen h3 could be a threat. So in this position, Kasparov now played queen here, but now white gets to triple up along the g file, and this is just too powerful. Okay, this position is just winning for white. Okay, in this position, apparently Kasparov simply resigned. The threat of rook to g8 is just too strong. Okay. Okay, so yes, this was a big blunder. What should Kasparov do in this position? Well, it's not an easy position, but at least queen to h5. Okay, we were attacking h2, and black stays in the game. For example, after rook here, maybe f6, trying to hold. But still, the position is complicated. Anything can still happen here. Okay, so let's move on and let's see another blunder by Kasparov. And this happened in his game against Topalov, one of his games in Linares 2005, same tournament. And we got to this position where Kasparov has given up a pawn. He's got some compensation. He's got the f-file. But after queen to f1, it's hard to believe that Kasparov would trade queens and reach a pawn ending, which, with the pawn down and Black doesn't really have any compensation for that pawn. Kasparov lost very quickly. What should he do? Well, simply avoid trading queens, like a move like queen to d8 here. And if we move our queen now, then maybe knight takes, pawn takes, and queen b6. With pressure against those two guys, that's compensation. I can't believe that Black should be any worse here. Okay, Black is in the game. But instead of that, Kasparov decided to trade queens. I mean, it's very difficult to calculate a draw here. I mean, even if you feel that you've got drawing chances here, it's so easy to for Black to miscalculate. You can't calculate this till the end. And after all, a pawn up is a pawn up. And it's just shocking that Kasparov would enter this pawn ending without, considering keeping the queens on. It's just, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So, going back to the question, was Kasparov the best world champion ever, the greatest champion of all time? In my opinion, no. Okay, I must admit that he played incredible games, that he made great contributions to opening theory, not just by himself, but you don't forget that normally these guys have a big team of people working for them and finding opening novelties and opening ideas for them. So all those opening contributions, what can I say? Yes, they were great, and he was an incredible player. He made a revolution because before him, players playing with the white pieces didn't win games the way he did. Okay, he played d4 so tactically, so ambitiously, and his games were formidable. But let's not forget that many of those opening ideas were prepared by other people. Okay, if we compared Kasparov to people like Fischer, who did have some help from some US grandmasters like Larry Evans but really not much help. Okay, he did most of the stuff on his own. Or people like Capablanca. Think about Capablanca. He never had any coaches, any people working for him. In fact, his openings were really bad, were really awful compared to Carlsen's. Okay, but still, he was a genius. He could play any position. Okay, decently well, and he, as Lask once said, I've met many amazing chess players, but only one chess genius, and that is Capablanca. I have to agree with him. Okay, Kasparov was a great worker. He worked really hard at chess. He achieved great things, but I do not consider him a chess genius. Okay, not as much of a genius as Capablanca or Fischer, whom I believe are the two greatest world champions. Which of the two is better? Well, maybe that's stuff for another video. Thank you.
See the subscribe button? Hug it, show it some love. But above all, click it. And don't forget to visit our website, chess.clinic.